Well, of course, we know that the Diamondbacks have some needs, and I know that the bullpen is kind of one of the needs they are addressing probably this offseason. I mean, it has to be a priority for them at least to upgrade at some, even if they don't go out and acquire a closer of Devin Williams caliber that we discussed the other day, right? But I mean, it does feel like this upgrade is needed, or maybe not. I mean, maybe at least they need some upgrade to like high leverage guys, and they can kind of turn to one of their big arms that kind of filled that role this season. But what are your thoughts on them pursuing a closer over turn into like AJ Puck or Justin Martinez?
Yeah, I mean, outside the Sewald signing last year, I don't know if the Diamondbacks, and nothing against Sewald, great pitcher, but Diamondbacks haven't ever gone after a big name bullpen guy, really, right? So
I mean,
pretty much, yeah.
I mean, unless some, I mean, you could name some guys, but it was, you know, they were maybe a little bit past their prime.
I think Mark Melanson, I want to say, is the biggest free
Melanson,
agent contract they've
numbers
ever
were
get.
What's his name? I played with him a few years ago. He led the league in saves a couple years. The Rockies and Cardinals.
Greg Holland.
Yeah.
Brad Boxberger.
You know, these guys were good. I mean, these guys, some all-star appearances here and there. So I don't know. I mean,
but why are they bad here? Why when they come here do they struggle?
Tough, dude. We were just talking about it. Like,
no
Jesse,
kidding,
was if you take away all my runs against Colorado?
Yeah, so
we did this before the show.
Archie made me look this up. So if we take away all of the runs you gave up against the Rockies in general, home or road, then your career ERA goes from 4.03 to 3.87.
I go
and
sub
that's
4.
just Colorado, which was very good in your time. As we
I
discussed.
don't think the NL West gets enough credit for how good of baseball we're playing here on the West Coast.
Yeah,
I think the NL East obviously has changed a little bit, but still the Yankees, the NL East with the Braves and the Phillies, you know, over there, but. Dude, the Dodgers, the Padres, even the Rockies years I talk about, like from 15 to 20, the Rockies have to be a top 5 offense. MVP candidates. I mean, it's a tough
really good
place to play.
Team.
Tough ball. The ball flies at Dodger Stadium. The ball flies in Colorado. San Fran is huge. Colorado is huge. Arizona's a launch pad as well. I mean, you're talking about just it's tough. And I just think that the bullpen is such a tough thing now because starters are going so few innings now that
they really are.
Even compared to a few years ago, like it has to be down at least a full inning on average on innings per 9 by a starter. Like it's got to be closer to 4.5, 5 than it was to 5.5, 6 when I was in the pen playing.
I mean, in my time of watching baseball, I remember like a period of time where 6 innings pitched by a starter was like mediocre. Like
I mean that was the minimum for quality start, right? It was at 5 innings.
Right.
Or 6 is for quality start, right? Like
quality start,
like if you think about it, like unbreakable records, Gowan's quality start record will never be broken.
Oh yeah.
I think it wasn't it more than quality start? It was like 6 plus innings, 2 or fewer runs or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just like the bullpen is so hard to manage now. So I don't know, because again, like you take a guy like J Mart, and is he closer material? Obviously has the arm, but is he more set up in a closer or in a setup role? And then you take Puck, and like Puck has closing experience in Miami, but he doesn't have bona fide closing experience. It's not like long-term closing experience. He's a guy like me, was a starter, didn't really pan out, moved to the pen, high leverage innings, boom, he becomes the guy in Miami. Gets traded over here. Sewald's the, you know what I mean? Like, and
Puck
then
has the beard for it.
Does have the beard. I'm all on board for that.
He's right.
And then I mean, the last month of the season, last month and a half, I mean, one of the best relievers in baseball.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I again, for a team, it's a big investment for. It's in my head, it's too much of a risk for the reward.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, relievers are, you know, the most volatile commodity in baseball because it's
Tell me about it.
It's one inning at a time, right? Like you have one bad day and suddenly your numbers look terrible. But you know, I think it's the Diamondbacks historically have just not prioritized spending big on the bullpen. And I think we can kind of understand why that is.
Yeah.
It's not a totally outrageous philosophy to kind of try to piecemeal it together. There are plenty of big name relievers who've gotten big contracts, and very quickly those contracts look disastrous. I even think about a guy like Tanner Scott, who's one of the best relievers in all of baseball and is a free agent this offseason. MLB trade rumors has him pegged for a 4-year, $56 million deal. Like, do I want to pay $4 and $56 to a guy who's pitching 1 inning at a time, over that period of time? Is the velo going to drop? Is the stuff going to drop off at some point? There's just a lot of risk with these kind of deals. So it's a little hard for me to imagine the Diamondbacks kind of shooting for the moon when it comes to their bullpen search. But I also think they're the type of team that really values having some experience in that role. Paul Sewald was so, we've talked about that a lot. He was so huge for this team in 2023, even though he wasn't by any means an elite level closer, but just the fact that he had been there and done that and could allow other guys to settle into better roles, it made a world of difference.
That's for me, like what I think about with Sewald for sure and going forward is, whether it is Puck, who probably talent-wise and stuff-wise definitely has the stuff to be the guy.
Yeah, totally.
I also see Puck in, man, you can get multiple innings out of this guy. You can the value for him in terms of getting more than 3 outs is huge, especially, again, for the way starters are going such few innings. But exactly that, like Fernando Rodney, Boxberger, it wasn't always the prettiest, they weren't elite, but they were professional closers, right? Like, and when I say that, I talked about that a little bit earlier on when we were discussing J Mart and some earlies. You just understand how to throw less pitches. You understand when and where to do stuff. And, you just understand what it means and when to give up runs, as weird as that sounds. Like, you're a pro, and like there's there's some comfort when that guy jogs in where he's going to blow some games. That's just part of it, any guy. But it's not going to be this nail-biting shakiness where, should we be making a change? There's the toughest 3 outs in baseball. And as much as it's great to have a number one, if you have at least a top 8 guy down there, man, it helps a lot.
Right. And it seems like, again, the Diamondbacks have traded before, and it seems like if they did maybe make one of these starting pitching trades we talked about, that maybe that could be the return in some way. But even that seems like it's a little bit of a, like, unless it's paired with some prospects or something like that, it might be just a little bit of a letdown depending on the caliber of the closer. That's why I still think, like, if you're going to go through all of that, it feels like you could probably go with someone in-house, like AJ Puck in-house, or maybe, I don't know. What are your thoughts on, like, the closer by committee thing that Torrey's kind of done?
I don't like it.
Yeah. Just because, again, you don't know your role. That's one thing that we heard Joe Mantiply say.
Again, as much as I always talk about our job is to pitch and we get paid to do that, like, exactly that. When you have quote unquote roles in these setups, you just go look at really dominant teams and the way they did it. It's 3 or 4 guys that they consistently hand the ball to.
Yeah.
And same thing with the starting pitching. It's why I'm excited about this Diamondbacks team. There's some pieces down there that have that. Ginkel's been on this team for a while and he's thrown the ball really well. I know he had some struggles this year, but this whole team had struggles this year, up and down.
Very true.
J-Mar got some closing experience. You get Pucky. We talk about these young starters that have gone back and forth. I think there's, again, that's where we talked about it. The pitching coach, the bullpen coach are huge hires, because I really do think there's a formula to mix the right long guy with one of these young starters that you want to get experience and keep in the big leagues as the long guy to expand, throw innings, and then truly piece together an experienced bullpen where, again, maybe it's not a bona fide closer, but you go add maybe what I'm talking about, a long guy or a lefty guy that, again, I just think there's enough depth down here to really piece this team together.
We all silly like the mayor.